How are things going for you?
Things are going well. A little hectic, but they're going well. I can't complain.
Pandemic restrictions lifted, you're performing again. What did it feel like the first concert back in front of a big crowd?
It felt like the first show I've ever done. The butterflies, it was exciting. And I think people needed it. We needed it. And it was therapeutic. It was awesome. I'm at a loss for words because it was so cool. It felt really good to be able to do that again without, feeling like there's a wall between you and the audience.
Did the pandemic provide any creative time for you?
Absolutely. That was when we had written a bulk of the new album that just came out last year. Chris was working a lot. I was writing a lot with a local friend of mine who's also a writing partner, Johnny Cummings. And and it's funny because a lot of the songs that made it to the record, you would think were written about what was going on at the time, and they weren't. But the universe did its thing, and one of the songs we had written was a song called Asylum, and the hook, the lyric of the chorus was, "The lunatics have taken the asylum," and literally the next day they stormed the Capitol. And it's like, it was just these weird signs of this connectivity between what we were writing and what was happening in the world. But it wasn't intentional. But yes, to answer your question, it was a time of creativity, and because you had nothing else to do. I mean, we sat in the studio and we wrote and worked, and in anticipation that things would get back to normal. So.
Right, and you probably wouldn't have been afforded that opportunity.
No, we would have been on the road. We would have been touring. I mean, we went out, we played our second show. We were in Iowa, and they say, "Hey, we got to send you guys home for a couple days. There's this weird COVID thing. You'll be back out in a couple weeks." I mean, that's what we were being told. And then 2 years later, so it was crazy.
And #1 Billboard, Heavy as the Crown.
Yes, we were very fortunate to, that was the second single off of the current album, which is called Dearly Beloved. And my partner, Johnny Cummings, and I wrote it. And we wrote the writing process in Daughtry, basically, because Chris is a phenomenal writer. So you don't send him full songs, basically. We did the intro, the first verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, the music, and then we send it off to see if it's something he even likes. And they loved it, and he finished the song, and that was our second single. And it was one of the longest running songs on rock radio last year, so it was on the charts for quite a while. It was pretty exciting just watching it slowly climb, and we were fortunate to get it to the top and on iTunes as well. And it's a monumental moment for me as a songwriter, for sure.
Yeah. Have you felt pressure to move to LA, Nashville, New York City?
I did early on, but then I realized that the way the creative process works in the music industry, you really don't have to be in a certain place. Now, are there more opportunities if you live in LA or Nashville that can come up on a whim? Of course, but the writing process, with the internet, you basically can collaborate, through FaceTime. We've done writing sessions through FaceTime. I have a recording studio in my home, so I can record my parts for songs, send them via email or Dropbox link or whatever it is. And so I don't have to live in another state. To be honest with you, the biggest factor for me staying here in Rochester, I'm born and raised here, is the fact that, well, a couple of things. I have a music academy here for kids that's dear to me. I can't imagine ever leaving that. But also the fact that I'm blessed and fortunate to be able to do this for a living. And this city has had my back since day one. From Uncle Plum to all of the local things that I did, I always felt the support from friends and family and fans here. And I just feel like, why leave this? Why not stay and try to, change the landscape of the future of the local music scene and help, and see if I can give back a little bit. So I hate the weather, but I'm going to stick it out.
That's why you got to get into sledding. Speaking of helping out, ROC Star Academy, how did that start?
Wow, that started back in 2009, and it started as a 1-week summer camp. And the idea came when I had my local band before I joined Daughtry. It was a band called Uncle Plum. Anytime that we would do like outdoor family-friendly events, I got into this habit on the last song to bring as many little kids as I could up on stage. And I remember we would do Give It Away by the Chili Peppers. And in the middle of the song, I would have the kids jumping up and down, singing the chorus. And then we would kind of like break it down a little bit. And I would ask the kids, I'd be like, which one of you thinks you got what it takes to be the next rock star? All these little kids are raising their hand. And I would pick the smallest, cutest kid, bring he or she out front, and say, look, I'm going to hand you the mic. I'm going to count to 3. You take the mic and you do whatever you want. You can say, give it away now. You can dance, you can jump, you can scream. This is your moment. And then I would look at the audience, which usually if it's a family-friendly event, there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Like Chai Life Festival and all these little local festivals, Fairport Music Fest.
Yeah, huge.
And I'd say, your job is to make this kid feel like a rock star. So I'm going to count to 3, let's do this. And I would hand the mic over, and it was life-changing because the kids would just beam with like, this is amazing, and the crowd's screaming, going nuts, and right then and there you realized that kid's never going to forget that moment, ever.
Right.
So I was laying in bed that night and I said, how can I continue this? How can I continue to give these kids an opportunity to feel like rock stars? Mm-hmm. Because look, we live in an age where, unfortunately, how cool you are is determined by likes on social media and stuff like that is just so damaging. So I started a 1-week summer camp, and the whole premise of the camp was we're going to make you feel like a rock star. Yeah. So on day 1, we pick the kids up in a limo or a tour bus. We drive them around, and then we go to whatever venue we're doing the camp at. They play for us a little bit, and then we form bands. All right, band number 1, you're the drummer, you're the bass player, 2 guitarists, singers, and they have to hang out with their band all week. They got to name their band, they design a logo, and then they pick 2 songs that they're going to perform on Friday in front of a live, like it's their first gig in front of a live audience. And it's the most rewarding thing by far that I've ever done. And the feedback that I would get was, I don't want to wait a whole nother year to do this again. This is my favorite thing in the world. So we turned it from a 1-week summer camp into a year-long academy, which basically, it's the same thing. We have bands. We're up to, I think, 14 bands. We have solo artists. We have kids that just take lessons that aren't quite ready for that band experience yet. And each band has a professional musician. My staff is incredible. Like some of the best local musicians who do this for a living are the coaches. And they coach these kids, and when they work on their set list, and then we provide multiple gigs for them. They're playing the Lilac Festival, they're playing the Hilton Carnival, they're playing at Iron Smoke, all these cool venues. I'd say maybe 10 gigs a year, and it's life-changing for me and the kids. There's no better feeling than when you see a kid who doesn't think he or she is cool because they're not the quarterback of the football team. They're the kid in their bedroom playing guitar.
Yeah.
Now they're on stage, playing in front of a crowd, doing a guitar solo or singing or whatever, and feeling that adoration and that feeling that I'm fortunate to get when I go and step on stage.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing ever.
It's not just a lifelong memory, it's a lifelong skill too.
Yeah.
In many respects.
Yeah. And I tell parents, because I mean, look, it's like travel sports, right? What are the chances your kid's going to go pro, right?
Yeah.
But if your child leaves my program with this much more confidence than he or she came with, job done.
Yeah.
That next relationship, that next job interview, they're going to feel better about themselves. And that's really what we're doing.
Yeah,
you know?
That's fantastic. So when you watch School of Rock, the movie, you're like, yes.
We watch it every summer during our summer camp. We have a big projector screen in our facility, and that's one of the movies we watch, and it's so much fun.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
The feelings there. When it comes to Daughtry, how have you maintained the cohesiveness in order to continue doing what you've been doing and creating new music and staying together and all that?
We are a pretty tight-knit group of people. They're a second family. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, there are years where I spend more time with them than my own family, which, you know, is another conversation. It's tough to deal with, but it's the reality of this business. So we're very tight. You know, we know each other really well. We know which buttons not to push on certain days. You know, you can just, you're traveling in a, 300 square foot bus with 5 people. So, you know, we know every little intricacy about each other. So the creative process, you know, there are no walls. You know, we respect each other, and there's times where, you know, I don't like that idea, and that's fine. Like, but it's we've been fortunate to not have any huge fights or anything like that. We respect each other, and that kind of helps obviously the creative process. But there's nothing worse than when you're trying to be creative and there's tension in the room or any of that stuff. It's difficult, but we've been lucky.
Where do you see it going?
I see it going as far as we want it to go, to be honest with you. There's been a resurgence for us, which has been great. This latest record that we just put out, this album, Dearly Beloved, is the first album that we've done on our own independently, without the pressures of a major label telling you what to do, which is not cool sometimes, because they're the quote bank, right? So they're going to constantly have people chirping in your ear about you need to do what Maroon 5's doing, you need to do what Train's doing, you need to do what this band's doing. Write with this person, they've got hits, and you start to lose who you are. And this record, we said we're doing it ourselves. We're gonna go back to our roots and play the music that inspired us to be musicians in the first place. And that's what we did, and by far the response has been overwhelming, and the crowds have been better. We've got invited to play some incredible rock festivals. We're going over to Europe in June to play Download Festival in the UK with bands like Iron Maiden and Kiss and huge names, Green Day and Shinedown and all these huge rock bands. So I feel like it's almost like a new beginning for us, and we're excited about it. So I mean, where can it go? If you keep putting out music that people like and stay true to what you do, it can go as long and as far as you want. But that's the question: how long do you want to do this? And that's hard to answer.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you'll just know. My last question for you, just kind of as a fan of music, do you still ever get starstruck when you meet Green Day, when you meet anybody for that matter?
To be honest, in the very beginning, I did a little bit, but you quickly realize that these people are just like you. They're vulnerable. They're normal people that were given a great opportunity and took advantage of those opportunities, but they're just peers. I would say the most starstruck I ever was when I first met Stevie Wonder. But he was so funny and down to earth. That lasted about 30 seconds, and then we were just friends, and he was making us laugh. I haven't met Paul McCartney yet. Maybe things would be different if I met him.
Yeah.
But I'm currently reading Dave Grohl's book, which is phenomenal.
I've been meaning to read that, actually.
It's unbelievable. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
And he talks about the same thing, like, meeting these people that he grew up listening to and playing on the same bill as these bands that are legendary. But you quickly realize these are the coolest, most of the time, down to earth, really, they're just like you.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, good.
Some with bigger bank accounts than others, but they're musicians like you.
Maybe bigger heads too.
Yes.
You obviously have an academy that attracts a lot of different people, but in general, what type of kid do you focus on, or what type of kid is drawn to the academy? I
would say we get the kids who are really kind of serious about it and want to get out there and play live. There are so many incredible teaching facilities in town, and places like Daughtry does a phenomenal job with especially the younger kids. They do a great job, and they do a lot of stuff that's very similar to us. House of Guitars has a lesson program, et cetera, et cetera. I think our niche is kids that are very serious about it, that want to get on stage, and the goal is to get out there and play gigs. We have 3 or 4 bands on our roster right now that play quite consistently out in the local scene and get paid for it.
Wow.
And it's such a rewarding feeling. We're like a farm system, right? You get these kids, you coach them, and then you set them free, and now they're out there making money and playing at some of these establishments that I used to play at, back in the day. And it's a great feeling. But the kids who are a little bit more advanced that want the coaching and want to get up on stage and play. And we're always looking for good kids. There's a joke. It's tough to find a bass player. Every kid wants to play guitar, so we're always looking for, basically at any instrument, but talented kids that really would rather get out of their bedroom and on stage with like-minded kids, with the goal being, let's get up on stage and let's play some gigs in front of people. That's kind of what it's become our niche.
And correct me if I'm wrong too, you've opened up spots for kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford.
Oh yeah.
Things like this.
Absolutely.
And I mean, talk about an opportunity for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, there's scholarship opportunities.
Yeah. I
also have friends who are local businessmen that, have offered to sponsor kids. So I think people get behind it and they realize that it's a good thing, you know, so everybody kind of wants to help out.